The National Museum in Kabul looks fairly good. It was badly damaged during the period of the Soviet dominance in the 80s. It was hit by a rocket in 1994 during the period of the Civil War, and the objects that were still there at the time of the Taliban's dominance were hacked to pieces. Many pieces had been hidden away, and so there are plenty of objects that are still on display in the museum. But as of the end of the Taliban's dominance, it was in shreds, literally in shreds. It was a shell of a building with nothing inside. Now, as a result of international assistance from USAID, the United Nations, UNESCO, a lot of foreign governments, Japan, the Netherlands, the US, of course, Germany, a whole host of countries have banded together to help the museum get back on its feet. So when I was there, it was functioning well. Fresh paint on the walls, new cases for exhibiting objects, a new heating system, the plumbing worked well. The area itself had been bombed out, but the museum itself is relatively strong. And while I was there, I learned that $10 million had just been given by a variety of governments to build a new museum. This is essential because the gold of Afghanistan, the gold that was excavated at the site of Tilla Tepe in northern Afghanistan in 1978, has been traveling around the world and earning a lot of money for Afghanistan through loan fees. But eventually, of course, it needs to come back to Afghanistan, and there's no secure place in Kabul for it to come back to. They need a new museum that is incredibly secure, so that no matter what happens in the government, the looters won't be able to get into the vaults. And that's what they're going to be able to build now as a consequence of the $10 million donations from a variety of countries. But there are new exhibits. Things are looking quite good, I would say, in the museum. And the director, Mr. Masudi, is a very wise and versatile guy. So he has had to think outside the box with every month that has gone by in the last 10 years, and has done so. One of the main exhibits, new exhibits in the museum, focused on Mes Aynek, the early Buddhist pilgrimage site that is not very far to the north of Kabul. As Archaeological Institute of America president, I had written to the Institute of Archaeology in China asking them to intervene at the site of Mes Aynek because the ruins, the surviving monuments, were being threatened by the Chinese copper mining company that was working extensively in that area. So when I met with the Deputy Minister of Information and Culture in Kabul, the first thing I brought up was Mes Aynek. And he said, people tend to think that Mes Aynek is distinctive to Afghanistan, but it's the sort of thing that happens everywhere. When someone is digging a subway tunnel in Rome, they find ruins. Does the subway tunnel stop? It does not. Once it was realized that the Mes Aynek Buddhist monastery was endangered by the mining, an agreement was concluded between the Ministry of Information and Culture and the Chinese government to refrain from mining in that area or working in that area, the sensitive archaeological area, for 3 years, during which the archaeologists would excavate, conserve, record, and transport the monuments and the discoveries to the museum. But it is something that the Ministry of Information and Culture is very concerned about, and for this reason they set up a new exhibit on Mes Aynek in the National Museum in Kabul. Again, ideally, an archaeologist would prefer that there be no modern development in these areas, in Rome, in Athens, in Istanbul, in Kabul. But it's a fact of life that this kind of development is going to have to go on, so we can only do the best we can with recording and transporting to a safe venue the objects, the monuments that are found in the course of work there.